Okay, it's about that time. We'll go ahead and get started. My name is Bruce Adams, and I will be your presenter for documenting your media ministry. And these will be the topics that we'll go over. I'm sure many of you have the same question I have on many of the other presenters. Who are you and why should I listen to you? And as far as this subject, why document? It's a lot of work, it's a lot of effort, but hopefully we'll present some ideas to you that'll show you some benefits now and in the future. And I'm going to try real hard not to read the slides to you all because you all can read them for yourselves. Okay, as far as an intro, I started live streaming in March of 2020 when COVID hit all around the world. We were in Northwest Florida, Crestview, Florida, to be specific. I really grew in my live streaming knowledge after about 6 or 9 months when our church had to relocate its Sunday services to another location because of construction that was on our property. We were on a little bit of a hill and the hill was beginning to slough off. So if you can imagine 6 weeks of taking equipment from storage to the sanctuary or to the temporary location, setting it up, having a service, break it down, take it back to storage, next Sunday, rinse and repeat. I learned very quickly how to troubleshoot items and how to document various options of equipment that we had. Since then, we have moved to Beaumont, Texas, and we've been helping the church here for about 1.5 years. And we'll go over some of those documents toward the end of the presentation. As far as my professional career, I spent 32 years in the oil industry, starting out as an engineer and then a region manager in operations. When I retired 12 years ago, I had 13 locations in the Southeast, Texas to Florida, up to Carolinas, with about 80 employees. And I was heavily involved with safety, operations, compliance training, and procedure writing, of which I was asked to lead a team of about 6 people to write procedures because we weren't real heavy in procedures. We had, the high level, mid-level guidelines, but not the nitty gritty, how to turn which bolt or which valve. So with that, we ended up writing about 50 procedures. During that time, I also wrote, kind of haphazardly, a severe weather desk manual since there are a lot of hurricanes in the Southeast. I've also written a church ushers manual, had one revision of it there in Houston. And I developed a guide for proctored amateur radio exams via Zoom. So that's a little bit about me. I'm going to ask if you have a question to put a capital Q or the word question at the beginning, and we'll flip back and see what questions you all may have, if any. So why should I document my media ministry? That's a good question. I have a question for you. I have a question for you all. We're already 3 questions, but one answer. And you can answer in the chat. How many ministries have 1 to 3 volunteers? Respond with a capital A. How many of you all have 3 to 10 volunteers helping you out on various Sundays? Please use that selection with a capital B, like in Bruce. And then anyone like our church that has 10 or more, please respond with a capital C, and we'll come back to those in just a moment, just to kind of give you an idea of what we're looking at. But one reason you may want to document your ministry, your media ministry, is how many times do you get tired of repeating, here's how you stream, here's how you use the switcher, here's how you use the Lyrics computer, here's how you do this. Getting frustrated just thinking about it. And you get frustrated with the hardware and software changes and revisions by Windows, revisions by OBS, revisions by everybody else. And you have to keep everything kind of tight so that things don't crash on you on Sunday morning. So why should I document? Primarily for the volunteers now and in the future. The current volunteers need to know what's going on, and you're going to have more volunteers coming, hopefully, those latter two groups, B and C. If you were like us at my first church where we had 1 to 4 people, a lot of people weren't not really coming to the media team because, as one of the other speakers mentioned earlier, we're the first ones there, the last one to leave. Another reason to document it, because things will change. You'll get more lights to control, more microphones, more software, newer software, communication headsets, just different things that add to the big puzzle of media ministry. We talk about benefits. It reduces repeated instructions to multiple people. It establishes a timeline. It establishes a standard. We could talk more about standard in just a minute. And last but not least, the users, the volunteers, can help write the documentation. It does not have to be just one person. You can have multiple people writing this, because it doesn't have to be super official with headers and footers and signatures. You just need something that's you can refer to when you have a problem, or if you have a new person come on board, or someone that needs a little bit of a refresher. So why do this? Or how would you do this? There are various types of training. There's on-the-job training, which most of us do with media ministry. There's meeting with practice, say one-on-one. There's also training with guidelines, which we're going to talk about how you develop those. And then some ministries, I know, like usher boards, they will have monthly or quarterly meetings and provide training as a group. So it can be done on multiple different ways. Varies, and it depends on the type of organization you're in your church. But another goal is teamwork, where everyone can cover for each other in case someone gets filled with the Spirit, in case someone gets sick, or if someone doesn't show up. Like what happened to me a couple of Sundays ago. I was supposed to be in the streaming audio room, and the camera person didn't show up, and the other 2 people were much newer. So I ended up having to go from one station to another station. Otherwise, we would not have had any cameras for that particular service. So we want to cover each one and set the bar at God's excellence and perfection. Having a difficult time advancing my slides. Well, the next thing we want to talk about, as PowerPoint catches up, is the purpose and mission statement of a media team. Well, this is really disheartening. This is the one we have in our church. It's just a little silver trifold, and it says the purpose is to carry out the gospel of Jesus Christ through the use of digital and electronic media as a worship and outreach tool. So remember, all these items are tools that we're using to get the word out to the people in the service and also online. Give you a quick moment to read this. And most of your mission statements would be similar. One thing, one of the speakers, I think it was Chris, talked about this morning, and it was not in our document. You want your live stream experience to be non-distracting. That's something we don't really talk about, but that should be a goal or an objective also. We talked about the standard. That's the minimum required. Say it's this point right here. Anything above that is moving toward excellence, which is what God wants. Anything below the standard needs improvement, like a few of us had to have at work. So from my perspective, there's two types of training, or two types of documentation. Training for the people, and then training on the systems or the equipment. And we're going to go over that. And the systems could be sound, video, electronic user, say someone that's an electronic usher, I'm sorry, a security person. It could be many things under systems. I'm having a time with PowerPoint. Well, at this point, we're going to check to see if there's any questions. So let me switch to another screen and see if there's anything over there. Okay, we got something from G. Albert. When expected volunteers don't show up or stuff happens, I've tried to get folks to create a plan B. Yes, plan B and plan C is really needed. Fortunately, at our church, at this particular church, we have enough people. They have not had to come tap me, while I'm in the sanctuary to come upstairs and work with the media team. But I guess this really gets into the term commitment. How committed are you? Chris earlier talked about he can teach us how to use a soundboard or whatever it is, but we cannot teach passion. Are you 100% committed? Are you 50% committed? And you'll find those out, Albert, as you go along. Okay, we had 1A and 1B. With Pamela, we're having 3 or less people. You probably don't need a lot of documentation because hopefully everyone there knows everything. With Scott having from 3 to 10, okay, you may need some checklists, which we'll have examples at the end, or you may need a workflow. How do we get started? How do we end? How do we turn things on and off? So you want to just keep repeating yourself every other Sunday or once a month or twice a month. So thank you all for those comments. Get back to my notes here. Well, you got to love PowerPoint and Zoom and all these. We'll just move on and do it old school. We'll talk about it, let the system catch up. So things to consider when you're documenting. Okay. Pride. Not only you want to be prideful in the work you do, but you don't want to be too prideful that you can't listen to someone that may have a problem. Is it too loud? Is the lights bothering them? Pride works positively and negatively, but you need to be sure you're managing it properly. Cross training, we've talked about it. We want everyone to know how to do what the other persons do as far as the actual production on Sundays or Wednesdays or any other time. Review your live stream. That's where you can find out, is it as good as I think it is? And I learned from another organization, you can do this at least 2 or 3 different ways. Watch it one time with only the video, no audio, and then watch it the next time with no video, or at least don't watch it, and listen to the audio. And you can see what items need to be tweaked. And as many of you know, minor changes make big differences. So review your live stream. Hopefully get someone to do that once a week. The guides, the notes and procedures are subject to change. I mean, even though we got them written down, you know, it's as of the date we wrote them, and things going to change. And we'll talk about that. So succession planning. This is more on the people. Who's going to relieve me when I get tired or go on to the next phase of life? Online tutorials. I know I've used Pro Presenter 7. I've gone to some of their classes online. I actually have a copy on my PC here that I can play with, even though we haven't gone to it at this particular church. We did it at my second church there in Florida. Online manuals for your ATM, for any of your hardware, for your switchers, for your lights. You don't have to memorize them, just know where the manuals are. So when there's a problem or you want to make an improvement, you can do that. Make a resume. No one told me this. I did this kind of, well, it really, when I joined the first team, I did this to let them know what my background was. Okay, I'd been using PowerPoint for so long. I'd taken so many pictures. I had some experience that I wasn't just some Joe Blow walking down the street, that I could help, and I did help. Be considerate of changes in service and equipment. We've talked about that some. Changes in service workflow. Okay, and then the order of service checklist, which goes with the service workflow. Like at our church, we started out in the past year and a half with the pastor giving the announcements. Then we went to video announcements at the beginning and the end. Then they moved it to the middle. Now I think we're doing it at the beginning. It kind of varies. So whatever the order of service is, the media team must know that and be flexible enough to make those adjustments. Fortunately, we have a order of service printed out for the media team, the ministers, and the minister of music, so we can see the order and make sure that our easy worship or pro presenter follows the order that they want us to have, or that they want to have. So what it all comes down to for you, and primarily for the volunteers, how do I fit in this puzzle? We got all these pieces here, and this is little old me. And how does my little bit of switching lyrics and switching, songs are lyrics, songs and videos and flyers and slides, how does that affect the big picture? Well, as AJ is stating in another forum right now, for those live stream people that don't have a Bible for the verses, they don't have the words of the song, or they don't know about the flyers for the cookout next Saturday, having those images, having those items really help that distant viewer feel part of the congregation. I also have some notes here that, as you'll find out in the next section, there are a lot of moving parts to a live stream. There's software, hardware, cabling, and a lot of other stuff. And the volunteer user should understand their part of the equation, how they fit into the puzzle. I think we have a break right here. Okay, this is one of these subjects that is pretty dry, but I always try to add a little humor. So here's a couple of things that you can look over quickly, and hopefully you'll have a little bit of a smile on your face. How many documents do we need to create? Not so many that you're going to drown in them, but we want to document everything that we need. So hopefully you enjoyed that. And we're talking about documenting your media ministry. Next, we're going to move to systems. We've talked about the people. Now we're going to talk about the really hard part, the systems, the hardware, software, processes, and whatnot. Why do it? As we've talked about, same as with the people training side, to aid in future changes and or system breakdowns. Yes, it is a lot of work to write one of these things. I say a lot. You typically can't do it in one sitting, but it can be done slowly and over time. I'll let you read this little thought right here. From my perspective, the system of documentation is more for the leaders. It's for, like, not church, where you have some company, I'm not even sure who it is, that does the maintenance on the cabling and the cameras and the equipment. So they probably have their own documentation, but someone has it somewhere. Or if you don't have that luxury, then whoever the leader / tech person is in your ministry would be the person that would need that documentation. And remember, you want to work your way down from, as they say, 30,000 feet down to 10, and then down to 5. Don't try to put all the detail on the very first pass. Save that for the second phase or the first revision. And remember, your ideas may come at the most unsuspecting time. You may be out fishing someplace or golfing or playing racquetball. I know they don't think of other things playing racquetball, but it'll come to you. The benefits: it can save time understanding the system and hopefully keeping the system without a problem. That's a real big goal, but it's a goal. You can save dollars due to broken equipment. Cameras getting dropped. Do you pack them when you're moving them? Are they on good tripods? Are the tripods weighted? Amplifiers. I found out, which I should have known from my DJing days in college, to turn the amp on first and then turn the speakers. I do it at home, but I hadn't thought about it at church. Same way with the soundboard. You want the soundboard turned on after the amp, otherwise you're gonna get popping and you may blow speakers. So just a lot of simple processes to get into to hopefully keep repairs to a minimal. Documentation can also shorten your troubleshooting time, determining faulty and or dead equipment. One tip, I don't quite have this long enough. I'm sure many of you are familiar with the Black Magic converters. Well, I found out, which most of you already knew this, they have what I call dummy lights on them. And in this case, the dummy light is telling you that there's power to this device. So when you're doing your troubleshooting, you'll know that at least with the SDI cables, they're twisted and locked, so they won't come off. But you really need to pay attention to these USB-Cs and these HDMI and these USB mini connectors, because they will tend to ease out, especially with the weather transitioning between hot and cold and then cold to hot. The metal will expand and contract and things can happen. So you may want to put something simple that we did at work in steel pipe, just maybe once or twice a year, just go around and push everything in just to keep another accident or another misunderstanding from happening, or a troubleshooting item, because you know how it is. One small item can shut down the whole live stream. And speaking of which, be real wary, real cognizant of power strips and those switches for those strips. I had a lot of concern the second church there in Florida. I even built a little piece of plastic to go over the button because I knew that if that strip went down, both PCs went down and the soundboard, some other equipment. So just look for items that could cause you headache or heartburn. So you may ask, okay, so how do I get started in this big documenting ordeal? Plain paper and pencil. Doesn't have to be fancy, doesn't have to be pretty. You could use engineering paper with a straight edge, triangle, or ruler. I've used PowerPoint. I've used the first two. I put Visio on here because it's old school, but it's similar to Draw.io. We're going to talk about Draw.io. A lot of you have seen AJ use it with his system designs for various churches, and we're going to go over it real quickly toward the end or right at the end. And as we have here a real simple layout on some paper, we've got the ATM, three PTZs, audio from the soundboard with 3 microphones, an organ, some speakers, monitors, in-ear monitors. I don't know what ports they're going into, but I just kind of label the ports. And then the internet going through a switch to these 2 devices. Put the page number, you date it. Is it the church sanctuary, the church fellowship hall, wherever it may be, and then the author. Make a couple copies of it, put them in different locations, and you're good. I talked about this, but I don't think I actually put it in my presentation, to use Google Drive or Dropbox or something where multiple people can get to it. You could control access that way to where 2 or 3 or 4 people can change the document, but multiple people can go view. And something else I thought of, this whole documentation process can be extended to other areas, not just the people training or your system, but these items here. Now I'll let you look at those and let you think about those items there. I'm going to speak about a funerals / off-site service in one of the documents that I have coming up pretty quickly. Okay, it's time to check for any questions. Let me go back to that page over there. I'm actually running 2 computers here. I saw something about people don't like to read. One additional note, do you also have someone that monitors that? Yes, our ministry at our church, I'm at Cathedral of Faith Baptist Church in Beaumont, Texas. He actually monitors the audio. He doesn't monitor the video per se, but he listens whether he's in service working or in service watching or at home, he's listening because I've gotten calls from him when I've been in the streaming room. I know the assistant looks at the video because she's called me on a couple of items related to camera angles and whatnot. So you go on to say, I'm the one that operates in the background, sending pages to the media team when sound is muted, not loud. Yep. I recommend having someone there to oversee things, but we have too many chiefs. Yeah, you need to have 1 or 2 chiefs, and the rest of us need to be Indians because, if it gets political or you get into too much of a power struggle, then, it's probably time to have a meeting and kind of work on straightening that out. Let's see. Can't see how to scroll this very easily. Oh, do people still use toilet paper? I do. Shared driver network, NAS, has helped with that for me. Okay, that was AJ. I think that's the last comment there. So it looks like no questions. Oh, those lights are my go-to for seeing if a signal is coming or going. Yeah, that gets into what I was watching some videos on uh, basically signal flow, whether it's audio flow or video flow. Where is it stopping? You know, if it's coming out of the camera, oh, can't see my hand. If it's coming out of the camera, you hopefully it's making it to the converter. Okay, is it the coax? We found at New Life that, and AJ can talk to this, all coax is not made the same. RG6 and RG8, which RG8, we use a ham radio, it's 50 ohm, but RG6 is 75 ohm. But you got to step through the process to see where is the problem. So I think that covers all of the comments over there. So let me go back to my notes. Oh, this thing. Oh, I'm telling you. Okay, looks like the next item is a little more humor. So like the first cartoon, we don't want to drown in paper. We just want to have enough paper to get us to the answer that we need. We don't want to overdo it. I've got a couple of short stories, but I'll save those for another time. Try to get back my notes here. Okay, we're back. Okay, now to the meat of the presentation. Here's some documents. There's 8 of them, and I think AJ was supposed to provide those to you, but if not, I can send these to you. I'll have my email address at the end of the presentation. I don't mind sending these to you that I copyright it. They're just ideas to help with your service. So I'm going to stop this share and go to another application here. Okay. So this is Central Baptist Church in Crestview, Florida. This is a paper checklist, 2 per page, that just, what's the date? These are the items I need to do. I always use my clock on my cell phone to help me in church. I would set an alarm at 10:38 because you're typically doing something else, to start the countdown at 10:40, and then just go through the various items. Check those off. Got some paper here, some space here for not notes, but also for scriptures, because sometimes the minister will deviate from his planned scriptures. So it's a real simple checklist. Also, it's central. Sorry about that. And these 2 documents were done pre-COVID. This is just notes, how to turn the projectors on, using ProPresenter 6, which was in vogue at the time, how to add a song, how to do video work, how to convert from PowerPoint to ProPresenter, recording, using the Behringer. AJ knows this in his sleep. Just things that I was not aware of when I started helping out at Central Baptist in Crestview, Florida. Then we moved to New Life International Worship Center in Crestview the Sunday before COVID went rampant. And this particular, let me scroll this out a little bit. Uh-oh. Well, I've done it now. Well, we'll come back to that. Basically, when we were moving from storage to our temporary location every Sunday for 6 months, I drew up a high-level sketch of the major components. And this next document is the same document. It was at Warriors Hall, summer of 2021. What I did, I just rotated the image, but I broke out various parts of the hardware based on pictures that another team member took. He was real big into pictures, and I am too. But if he took the pictures, and I had already played with this some, what you're going to see here is one camera and the network switch. There's the cable modem, the router, switch, and the PoE injector. So now we go to the next section, we're going to see OBS, and these were in two PCs in a rolling stage box. Here we're going to, the next set covers OBS and the DeckLink Mini. And I remember last night, we got this, or the team got this to get rid of the OBS, the ATEM Mini. So we went to basically switching on the computer versus an outboard switcher. So here's the DeckLink, and I had various call outs, as you can see. And this is one of the converters inside, leaving the DeckLink. Now we have the two PCs back or side by side. This is we got HDMI in going to the projector, and well, from the PC to the projector, and I'm not sure what that says there. And this is to the TV. You can see I was real big on masking tape and a Sharpie, because once I get it burnt into my brain, then I have it. Here's the camera. Here's this mini, what they call it, mini HDMI connector that gave us problems, and also the power connector. Those we eventually found some type of little lock that locked it to the frame, but be real wary of those if you have DSLR cameras. We got a converter where it's going to, and then just an extension cord with power cords on it. And the last section here is on the projector. We've got video coming. Oh, well, this is going to the projector. This is the SDI coming from the computer, and then this is the power and the connector at the projector itself. So remember, this was done every week for 6 months. And next is the soundboard, pretty straightforward. That's actually the amplifier. And we only had 2 microphones, keyboard, and then output to the amplifier. And more labeling. It drove our leader crazy, but it worked for me, and it worked for others. So it's cheap. Masking tape is $1 a roll. A wireless receiver and the audio box to go from the soundboard to the computer, because we ran OBS, as I mentioned. And just some other notes. Use Vegas for software. How to get on YouTube, and just some explanations just to help people understand the big picture. Let's see if I can go back. I hope I really screwed that one up. So after we've done 6 months of going from the church to Warriors Hall on Sundays, we're back in the church. So I just decided to build one of these for the church. And I actually did this one in PowerPoint, since GI and I are the only ones that still use pencil and paper. But this was very tedious, because you got to use each element at a time. You got to build this line and then size it. You can see it's a little long right there. But the real thought is, let me shrink it a little bit. The real thought is, we've got the internet coming in, and goes to 2 switches. We got 2 computers. We got 2 cameras. When we left, we had 3. We've got an audio computer that goes into the sound card, into a soundboard. We got a stage rack here in the back with amplifiers and sound card to the personas and stage mics. So it's everything on one piece of paper. And I tried to color code the audio from the video. Our assistant team lead liked it, but he wanted it changed so that it appeared on paper as if we were looking down from the ceiling. And by the time I got started on this, we moved to Texas. So that project never came to fruition, but just an idea. It's very tough to do in PowerPoint, but the finished product looks real nice, almost as nice as Draw.io. This, sorry about that. Let me rotate this so you can figure out what's going on. This oh no. It doesn't like me pressing the control key. Well, what that document was where we merged. We brought equipment from our church to another church because our pastor had died. He had been the pastor for like 29 years. He formed the church, and our facility was too small. So this facility was larger, and we merged our OBS system into their system. We used their 3 cameras. And merged it into our OBS system. We used one of their floor cameras. We used their audio system, of course, and basically what the document was to show is how we intertwine all of these components to have a nice live stream funeral service of about 1,000 people for our pastor. And I apologize for the document not for it disappearing. I'm not really sure what that's about. This last document is one I've just recently developed last fall. It is what I call an operator checklist. This is for the computer operator, as you can see. This is the person that provides the lyrics for the songs, scriptures, any videos, slides sent to the camera operator, and they'll put them up on the screen. The way we do it, or the way it's done at our church, the live stream basically mimics the video in the church. We have a separate audio system, which I'll show in just a moment. But what's unique about this particular operator also controls the lights. We have different scenes for different items. We have, scene 9 for the pastor when he's speaking, but during congregational singing, we have 7 to include the choir and the front of the sanctuary. So this is one that I'm pretty proud. And what I have started with this is building a detailed step-by-step procedure of how do we go from entering the scriptures to turning on Django to displaying the worship introduction in the congregational singing. And that was going to have pictures from different components of the computer primarily that hopefully a new person could look at if they read Albert G, and they could figure out what the next step is. And some of these things are optional, like the honor roll is optional. Youth presentations are optional. Same with communion and baptism; those are optional. But you got to know, bring up the communion slides, bring up the baptism slides, and what light setting that needs to be turned on. Okay, one more document. Let's see here. This one here. Okay, this one here is let's not use that control key. This was done in Draw.io. AJ's favorite software behind his editor. This shows our PTZs, shows our screens, our lyrics computer, the switcher, the joystick, the streaming room. And it's pretty accurate until I found out that what I was told when I joined is not correct. All of this audio is not split physically, it's split using Dante. And I'm reading up on Dante, trying to become at least a basic conversationalist on it. But basically, what happens, these two boards and whatever's up, whatever stage board is or stage boxes up front, it's all done via Cat5 cable, Cat6 cable, and it's transferred digitally, and you can make copies and send routings to different places. We have the light control, but it just helped me understand high level how all the pieces fit together in our church. Now go back to my presentation. Let's just stop this and start over clean. Okay. Draw.io. It used to be, and maybe it still is, a Google product, but I think it's ventured out on its own. AJ could talk more on that. But what I found is that there's a desktop version, there's a download version. Okay, this one here. And what it does, it's like drawing on paper, Albert G. If you've ever had drafting, or back in my day, wood shop or metal shop, you pick your item and you call it ATEM. I don't think I spelled it right. And then say you want a soundboard. Let's pick a different symbol. So this is XYZ soundboard. So then you can connect the line. Well, I guess you have to select the line, maybe. I'm doing this wrong. AJ's laughing at me. But the beauty of this particular program, if you need to move the box, the line automatically adjusts. That does not happen in PowerPoint. It makes PowerPoint so tedious. Or if you want to copy something, you can just copy it and there it is. You got another one right there, which that does happen in PowerPoint. But it's just so easy. You can type in camera, and it gives you choices of cameras. Okay, there's a camera on a tripod, or if you want a whatever type camera that is, like a point of view camera, or what they call it, a POE, and you can add lines to it. I'm not real good at that because I've only used it one time. But the beauty of this program is you can save it as a JPG. You can save it, I think, in a couple of other formats and modify it as time goes along. Now, I did find out there is a free desktop version that's online. You can also download it. And I think there may be a paid version. AJ could speak more to that. But this really simplifies your systems. It's almost quicker and easier than paper and pencil, and it really looks nice once you're done. Okay, let's get back to our presentation. Which is there. So last chance for any questions. Is actually I'll wait till we're terminated because we're at 50 minutes and I don't want to go over, even though there's no one behind me. Well, the next thing that we're supposed to go over was the recap of what I've gone over. I want to thank you all for attending, for your participation, your questions, your comments. Feel free to contact me with any other suggestions for next year and or any other questions. And the next slide will have my contact information again. And I'll hang around for about 15 minutes in case anyone wants to talk, chat individually. There's no one using this classroom afterwards, but I really do appreciate the opportunity, AJ, to participate in the e-conference. I've learned a lot from the 3 or 4 sessions that I've already attended. So here's the email address, badams138 at Yahoo. And I was thinking when Chris was giving his, I'm on other platforms, just not regularly. I'm on Facebook, I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Instagram. I think I said Facebook. Yeah, I think that covers it. So that is documenting your media ministry. Thank you again, and we'll see you either on the next Q&A or at the next conference. Thank you very much.